All right, Anusha, Mayuri, Dr. Pushpa, Priyanka, please confirm if you could hear me and also see the screen. Still one more minute to go. We'll go live exactly at 6:30. All right, thank you, Anusha, for confirming. All right, the time is 6:30 and we are here again for one more learning session. This happens every Saturday at 6:30 India time. So if you're joining for the first time, please type FT in the chat box. Let's see how many of you are joining for the first time. First timers. If you have attended many of the sessions, type MT. MT is for many times. All right, I still see some of you are for the first time. All right, okay. Welcome Priyanka, Anusha, Shilpa Rani for attending the sessions multiple times. And welcome Usha for first time. All right, so we have with us Dr. Lakshmi, Vaswani. Am I spelling the name correctly, Dr. Lakshmi?
Yes, you are here.
All right, perfect. So Dr. Lakshmi has earned her MBBS and then she did a diploma in pathology and bacteriology. It is called DPB and then MBA. Now, welcome, Dr. Lakshmi. Just wave your hand, or maybe we could stop sharing the screen for some time so that participants can see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you want me to stop this? Yeah. All right. Perfect. Excellent. So here is Dr. Lakshmi for all of you. She's done MBBS.
Good evening. How are you?
All fine, Dr. Lakshmi. Thank you so much. So Dr. Lakshmi has, done her MBBS, then Diploma in Pathology and Bacteriology. It is called DPB and MBA. She is a medical communications consultant. She has been writing a lot of content on medical communications for pharmaceutical and healthcare companies. And as a clinical pathologist for over 14 years of experience, she has used this unique experience to write better content in medical writing for B2B and for both B2B and B2C audience for health, pharmaceutical, and wellness industry. Now, this particular degree, what Dr. Lakshmi holds, the pathology and bacteriology, it definitely provides an edge over other writers because she can go deeper into the medical content and create much clearer medical content than probably any one of us, right? So Dr. Lakshmi will tell all of us as to how she got into there. And Dr. Lakshmi is also a certified digital marketer. What does it mean? It means that she understands how search engines work, how all these Googles and Yahoos and all these companies work, and then she can create a content that really works for these platforms, right? So specialization in helping healthcare business build their presence online through website, blogs, ebooks, CME, social media, and almost everything online, right? She has trained many faculties through various workshops and medical content creation, specifically at DY Patil University, Mumbai and Delhi University. She's also the content editor for Accent, ASCENT, Accent, the official newsletter of the Association of Healthcare Marketing Professionals, India Foundation. Now, with this short intro, I would like to invite Dr. Lakshmi to take over this session and help us learn more about what medical writing is all about and how AI tools. We have been listening a lot on AI tools, and I'm sure all of our participants might have seen a lot of posts on LinkedIn on AI. And every now and then there is a new AI tool which is launched. So how to zero down on an AI tool for better writing, content, better medical writing content. So welcome, Dr. Lakshmi. The stage is all yours. So we'd like to first listen to your story and understand how you got into medical writing, which is, not many MBBS professionals prefer to get into writing. Like they want to go into clinic or work with hospitals, clinical side of it, but you choose to get into, medical writing. So tell us more about this.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction. I'm really happy to be here, especially talking about a subject, like you said, which is exciting for me also as a speaker, because, like I mentioned, the way that AI is growing, this next time I talk about this in the next few months, my slides are going to be completely different. The
Absolutely.
topics that I choose are going to be completely different. So it's a constant research for me as well. It could change very drastically in the months to come. So I guess as a clinical pathologist, my training was very much hospital based. So I was at Bhatia Hospital in Mumbai for over, I think, 14 years. And the way that we were told to, and if any of you work for corporate hospitals or even academic institutes, you will know that, whether you are a doctor or not, you are taught to treat your department as a small business unit. So you have to be very aware of, if in my case, the tests that we're running and how we need to accordingly attract patients towards our department and our hospitals. So we are constantly marketing. We are, whether we like it or not, we may have a marketing department in the hospital, but they come to us for content. Why? Because we are subject matter experts. So they would go to the surgeons, they would go to the lab, they would go to the pharmacy department, they would get or physiotherapy department to get information from the doctors that are running these departments and create marketing material accordingly. So even though we are on the clinical side, there's the expectation that we would be involved in running the department as well. So I always was interested in this aspect of, communicating what we do. To a larger audience, to a lay audience who doesn't understand all of this. It's very easy for a doctor to talk to another doctor. We know the language, we know the jargon, we know the short forms. But to explain all this, to actually explain these complex medical terms to a lay audience is another challenge altogether. And it was much more difficult for me to write B2C content. You're going to hear this term B2B and B2C quite a bit in this talk, so I might as well get it out of the way. B2B is when I'm talking to other doctors or other healthcare providers. B2C when we're talking to patients and consumers. So I think that the major crux of this, even though we are, all of us have probably at some point done a thesis, academic writing, especially if we're working for pharma companies and regulatory writing, CROs, all of that, journal publications, that is, I feel, once you know the format, once you understand the rules, it is easy. It is easier. Yes, it's a lot of work, but we're used to the jargon, we're used to the language. Talking to lay audiences at different levels of understanding, at different levels of education, is, you need to kind of meet them where they are at all points, is where the challenge, I feel personally, is. And I sort of saw that, even though, we've been writing for many years, writing was part of my job profile in academics or in, my corporate profile. But the when COVID hit, I think two things happened. People went online very fast. They started looking for their information online and they started believing whatever was available. So if doctors are not there to contradict the stuff that is misinformation, we're going to have full public panic and full nobody's aware of actually what's going on. And that's when I saw a lot of my colleagues jump online. They jumped onto Instagram, they jumped onto YouTube, they started building their websites. Because telehealth was a thing. So whether we were pushed to doing it or whether it happened because of the circumstances, how COVID brought about major changes in our lives anyway, we started realizing that there's more to life than just the hospital, that there's more to, you know, making a difference than just being in the hospital and just meeting patients and, doing your thing. There is a scope for jumping online and actually reaching wider audiences, making a bigger impact. And more importantly, I was getting irritated with, the all the blogs that were so inconsequential and used to come up in my search feed. And I don't blame, like I can understand when I'm looking at it with some sort of medical knowledge, you understand that this blog is nonsense. And we say, okay, I'm not listening to this, I'm not reading this, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, yeah.
If this is the only thing you're exposed to, this is what you're going to believe.
Yeah.
So I do believe that it's time that healthcare businesses, whether you're in pharma, hospitals, whether you're, a clinic, whether you're independent consultant, whoever you are, having a presence online is right now imperative. It's what you need to do. So, and that's when I decided, even though I was doing it side by side till about 2021, I was doing, pathology in the morning, consultant and communication by night. So it was both of that together. And finally, I think I took a stand and said, okay, I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 and take this on as a passion project and see what we can make of it. And I've had a blast. The last 2 years, I've worked for so many pharma companies, from Roche and Abbott to Boehringer Ingelheim, and we worked for the WPP group, which is such a great name in marketing, and they've taken on healthcare projects. So we've done everything from a Cetaphil or a L'Oreal or Novology skincare products to Bonvita and Complan. So the range of products that you can actually market for or write for can be so diverse. It doesn't have to be just medications, and it doesn't have to be serious stuff. You can do really fun things as well. We write Instagram reels, we write video scripts, we write the content formats are also so different. So I think that's kind of what drew me in and took me out of the microscope and into this world of communications. So that's a little bit about me. I don't want to ramble on too much, but I want to get started on the presentation. So I'll just share my screen now.
Perfect, absolutely. I think that was a great story and great journey. I must congratulate you for helping spread that right information to the right audience, which is the need of the hour. Given the kind of online exposure we have, people like you are making a lot of difference to spread the right information. And I welcome you to this journey, and we'll definitely learn a lot of things from you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I hope everyone can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So I'll carry on. So we did go through this, my journey from microscope to manuscript, and I want to jump into the key learning outcomes that we hope to achieve from this session, right? So I want to first go into what medical content is exactly when we're talking about medical content creation, what it is, what it encompasses, why are we creating it, and who are we creating it for? Once we understand that, we kind of understand the demand for it, then we know why we need to create it faster than ever now, simply because there is just that kind of demand for it. And if we want to create content faster, then how AI becomes this tool that we need to latch on to so that we can do our work better and faster. Along with that, the top AI tools for the job. This is by no means a comprehensive list. This is just a list of tools that I've either used personally or a friend has used. So or I've tried it out myself, and they seem to be the most popular ones out there. But if you are interested in something else, of course, there's a world of tools available right now. Now, having said that, if we are choosing to use AI to generate content, we need to be aware of its pitfalls. What are the disadvantages of using it? What are the dangers of using it? And what are the ethical considerations, considering that we are not a normal industry? We are in the medical and healthcare field. That means we have more responsibility on us. It should always be going back to our ethos of spreading the right information to the right audience, right? So how we can make sure that we can use the best of AI, but be careful at the same time, right? So here we go on to the first part of the session, where I want to give you context as to what medical content creation is about in this day and age, right? So maybe you may be familiar in one or many aspects of this, depending on where you work and what kind of training you've had. But essentially, we have medical education content, which can be slide decks for your CMEs, for, even within pharma companies, your training manuals, training sessions, all of that comes into a sort of education-based approach. So from a subject matter expert to somebody in the same line of work as you. So it can be doctor to doctor, doctor to sales, whatever. It's all education-based. Then comes medical journalism, which is what you see in, you can write for, at this point, you're either writing for newspapers, so the health section of various newspapers or magazines, and that you can be writing for a B2C or patient audience, or you can be writing for an industry paper or an industry newsletter. So at that point, then you're writing for a magazine like MedBlaze, or those kind of magazines where you need to be aware of the industry as a whole. So the business aspects, the economic aspects, how different players are working in the industry, all of that. Then we're looking at public or scientific presentations. I feel like this is probably, considering the audience, probably something that you're all familiar with. So it's manuscripts, journal articles, scientific presentations, all of it, which is very clinical, very CRO based, and probably the most intense of it all. And the last part is actually something that I am more familiar with, which is medical marketing, which is a lot of promotional material for healthcare businesses around. So we can, like I said, range from pharma companies to hospitals and individual clinics. And we vary across the content formats. We're not restricted to an offline journal or, an actual physical newspaper or a magazine. We can go online, we can go on social media. It can be even 1-2 lines of copy with a great image or a great video. We can do reels, we can do YouTube videos. The content formats in this are different because our audiences are different. So coming to that, who is our audience? When we are creating this kind of information, it's so varied. So again, we want to target our audience or limit it to 2 groups of people. First is a patient-based or B2C audience, and the next is a provider-based or a B2B audience, right? Simply, they are people who provide a healthcare service, and whereas B2Cs are people who are receiving a healthcare service, right? In 2 broad categories, very simplified. So when we look at our audience and we say we are writing for a patient audience and they are a lay audience, we're looking at 5% of all Google searches are health related. When we say that, we know that our audiences can be found online, right? So, and recent surveys have shown that around 80% of patients use online search engines to find a healthcare provider. And almost 50% of patients would not even think about booking an appointment with a healthcare provider. That means they wouldn't probably go to a hospital or a clinic if that organization did not have a significant online presence. They don't trust it, in other words, right? So we know that online mediums of communication, of health communication, is important for this audience that we're trying to reach. The next is the B2B, so the provider. Where are the doctors? Well, if the patients have gone online, the doctors have to follow, because that's the doctor's target audience, right? So even though we may think that doctors are more formal and they are not going to be found on these mediums, recent studies as far as early 2024, they've shown that doctors are most commonly on WhatsApp, YouTube, and LinkedIn and Facebook. So chances are, if you are a healthcare company and you want to target doctors as your audience, these are the channels that you need to use. You can, of course, build your community online. You have, dedicated websites, networking websites for doctors. You have online journals, or most journals are now available online. So people, of course, doctors are there. Many pharma companies are developing their own microsites, their own landing pages for healthcare providers, where they give them, blogs, or they've condensed a white paper into a blog, or they've have interviews with other experts where they're talking about a drug or a treatment recommendation. It's an easier format for doctors also to be updated with their knowledge. The other side of it is when they're talking to their patients. So you will see now you have doctor influencers or med influencers who are on Instagram with more than 1 million followers. You have doctors who have created reels every day about common healthcare issues from orthopedics to gynecology. So you have clinics and hospitals that are creating reels with all their doctors and showcasing that they are a very approachable organization to go to. So they're earning, what are they doing with this? They're earning patient trust. So on both ends of the spectrum, whether the doctors are talking to other doctors, they're online. When doctors are talking to patients, they're also online, right? So a lot of this has to do with we are following our audience, to be simple, right? We are going to in an online space where our audience is most commonly found. And now, when we are creating this content, we have seen that most companies and most healthcare businesses have focused on creating large amounts of content. They've seen a benefit in it, which is why they want to continue to create all sorts of medical content. You can go again from websites and blogs and journal articles to even video and YouTube production. Whatever this content is, they want to create more of it. So to a point where we've seen that now 37% of B2C companies and 25% of B2B companies are creating content daily, right? So every day there is a piece of medical content that is coming out there. Now, obviously, there is a huge demand, right? But every time they create this kind of content, the question is, what do we do with it? What do they hope to achieve from doing this, right? So again, this really depends on what kind of company has commissioned you to write this work or has told you to create this content, or what kind of company you're working for. For example, if you're working for a hospital and they ask you, write a white paper describing our services. Okay, what do they hope to achieve from doing this? They hope to publish this white paper or this blog, and they hope to generate leads from it. Means they show themselves as a position of authority, of trustworthiness, and they hope that patients come to them. Or they hope to tie up with an insurance company. They hope to, in some way, build their business. If you have a supplement company or a skincare brand that's hoping to, launch itself in the market, and they ask you to create content for them, what do they hope to achieve from this as a business goal? They want to enhance brand awareness. They want to launch this product. They want the community to be aware of this product and therefore buy their product, right? So everything has a business goal to it. The content that you're creating is part of that business's vision and mission over there. So it has to match with that. So there are a whole lot of business goals that different companies have, and probably when you're briefed on creating a piece of content, somebody comes to you and says, please create this content for me, they're going to tell you the goal behind it. So your tone, the amount of research that you do will all depend on this as well, right? Now, whereas now we've already said that a lot of companies want to create lots of content. They want to create a whole bunch of content. But what is their biggest obstacle? 70% of them say that even though they want to publish content regularly, 80% of them are tied down because of time. They don't have the time to basically create content every day. Okay. So another thing that they have is most content production teams in major companies are either one person, 27% of them have only one person kind of doing all their marketing and content creation efforts, and 58% of them have only 2 to 5 people. And that's not enough for the kind of content that they want to create every day. So what do? Most of them outsource their content production, right? Which is where a lot of freelance work has opened up right now. A lot of people are setting up healthcare marketing agencies. A lot of healthcare marketing professionals are getting calls for this because there is simply a demand and supply problem right now. And we have, a large number of people who are interested in creating the content, but just don't have the manpower to do so, right? Now you've created all this content, and like I said, it has to match to the business goals of the organization. So even though somebody has commissioned you or asked you to create a piece of content, how do they know that it's good enough? How do they know that what you've created actually helps them or helps their business in some way? If you're creating online content, everything that you do is measured. So your website analytics are going to help, because if you've written content for a website, They're going to check how many people have visited that website and how many people have bounced off. Was what you said so interesting that people read through the whole thing? If it is a blog, again, how many people actually read through the whole blog? How many people commented it? How many commented on it? How many people shared it? In social media, it's even more brutal. How many likes, how many shares, how many follows, how many saves, how much their account grows, right? For hospitals and clinics, how many walk-in patients did they get from investing in your content? Right. In pharma companies, it may just be brand awareness. It may be, how many doctors they managed to sign up, how big their business has grown from the content marketing that they've done. So again, depending on what you're working for and what kind of content you're creating, all your content is being measured in some way or the other. Again, is it good enough, or did just, how good a job did you actually do? Correct. So having said that, now considering that the industry as it stands right now, you understand the players in the industry, you understand the expectations. When you know that you need to create content at such a pace, then you need some help. So at this point, from data that's come in recently, we know that a lot of marketing efforts and a lot of production efforts are now being automated. You can see it on LinkedIn also. LinkedIn has a feature right now that you can batch create your content, schedule your posts, and it goes up without you having to actually be on the platform, right? Instagram and Facebook had this a long time back. You have chatbots on most sites. That's also a form of automation. And so now, of course, with AI growing so popular, the use of AI-based tools have also increased. So we have a large number of both B2C and B2B companies who are actively adopting AI-based tools for their content creation efforts. That brings us to now the crux of the matter is, what is generative AI, right? What is AI and why do we need it? So AI simply enables computer systems and software to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Simplest definition I could find. Otherwise, everything is more on, machine learning and this. But it's basically a piece of software that has been programmed in such a way that they appear intelligent. So you can have a conversation with them, and these are tasks, and they could accomplish tasks that typically you would think human intelligence is required to do. Now, generative AI, again, is another term that you may have heard, is a category of AI where these models or these software can generate human-like text, graphic, audio, video. So they're generating some sort of content. But the caveat here is that even though they generate new content, they are using existing data patterns to generate this content. So a very important part of AI in the sense that they're not doing anything new. The type of content that AI is going to generate is going to be based on the data that you feed it. How you train your AI model is going to determine how successful it is in generating that AI, right? So, and of course, I have a very interesting case study that actually came out I read about just this morning. So of course, I didn't have the time to make a slide for it, but I will get to that at the end of the presentation. It's actually quite interesting to learn about. So again, why AI? Now that's a redundant question because why wouldn't anyone like to create great content but much faster? Correct? That's what we all want to do. So the question that we get most often is it really as good as the original method? Our tried and tested research, write, edit, publish. Those are, sacrosanct in writing, whatever writing you're doing. But is it really as good as the original? So a lot of studies that have been done, obviously, in the last few years, and most of them are marketing studies because if you see ChatGPT has been created for effective B2C communication, which is a lot of what marketing does, right? So a lot of these studies have said that 89% of the surveyors said that they could generate more content, 83% that said that they could generate quality content, and 63% said that the content performs better. So we already went through, how performance can mean different things for different people, but generally it performs better. So how do we use AI in writing? I know that's a very simplistic question, but whether you know it or not, you may already be using AI. If you're using a Gmail account, all your Gmail accounts have inbuilt AI in it. that makes it easier for you to correct your spellings, to correct your grammar, that's the smart compose option. You have a smart reply option. You have help me with a task option. It helps you summarize your email thread right now. So if you have a Google account, you have free access to an AI there and then, right? So that's how AI is helping you in your daily tasks anyway. If you're using Grammarly or any sort of editing software, again, that is AI based. So if you are a writer and you have been a writer at least for the last 3 to 4 years, more than likely you have used some sort of AI based tool, whether you realize it or not. So the steps when you're creating any sort of medical content or any sort of writing actually is we go through these broad stages, right? So of course it could vary for different people, but generally we go through the stage of research, writing, we reference our work, we edit our work, we can supplement it traditionally with text or with quotes, with videos, with audio, with images, infographics, we supplement that. Then we try and distribute it through various channels. So whether it's a publication or we can use it and supplement it for social media. However, we try and distribute that content in various formats. And then we analyze how well it's done. We analyze whether it's done well or whether it's worked or not, right? So now here we go through each and every stage of the steps in medical writing, and we look at different tools that could help. So I've just given you the most popular examples. Again, tools that I've either used myself or friends have used. So some of them have free formats. Some of them you may need a subscription to. But we'll go through them one by one. So when you're looking at research and writing, there's Research Rabbit. Okay, here they have a really good system of visualizing the papers that you need to write a very in-depth content like a literature review. You can organize your papers into folders. You can create a bibliography, and it's a very user-friendly interface. So even if you're using it for the first time, it works. Then we have Graphai AI, okay, which is again, you can accurate healthcare information in minutes. They use their database is PubMed and Medline Plus, which is again verified databases. So you know that the data that it's been trained on is again medically accurate. So it gives you that little kind of trust factor. Another important feature of this is that it can generate SEO-friendly content, which basically means if you want to translate your very complex medical information into an online medium where you need SEO and you need to understand how your search engine works, this can help you do that. So you can kill two birds with one stone, which is pretty relevant for the times that we are in right now if we're writing for online mediums. So Jenny AI is actually very interesting because it has a way of even chatting with your PDFs, right? So you may have sometimes you have your research, but it's not available online. It may be just a scanned copy of a really old paper, or it could be your, something that you have in PDF form. You may have to scan your study results and then upload it onto your computer. They can actually read your PDFs for you, so you're not typing in manually, or you're not, it's a little easier to get access to that. They also have multilingual support, and they have a very large research library. Also, what's interesting about Jenny is AI is that they're also a company or a software that is very active online. So if you search it from your Instagram accounts, jenny.ai, you can actually see live examples of how the software is used for other people using it. They're targeting PhD people who are trying out for their PhD and doing their research papers in college. So that's their main target audience, and they've developed a lot of reels on how they use that actively. Now you've already written your work, you've researched your work. Now it's time to reference your work. That's where Assistant by Site can help you. So you can put it in and it gives you a ready set bibliography at the end. You can also use it. It's also an end-to-end thing because you can also use it to research, write, and effectively edit your paper as well. Again, it comes to when you're using a platform to edit your work, you can do grammar checks with Trinka. And here it also works in enhancing your tone and style. So if you're using it for different mediums, like if you want the same piece of information, but you want it to go to different audiences, like you wanted a more formal tone because you're writing for B2B, but you also want a casual tone to write for B2C, this could also help. Now, this is actually something that I use myself a lot, simply because the mediums that I use for marketing is a lot, right? We're not only using text over here. So we need to supplement a lot of it. Even if I write a long form blog, I do need to supplement it with sometimes copy, because I'm translating that blog or that topic into social media. So I need short, catchy captions. I need copy for the Instagram posts or the carousels. I need copy for the stories. I need real scripts. So I need to make my content very conversational. It can't be, the traditional passive voice, very official literature review type content. So that's where ChatGPT, of course, the original 3.5, and now we have 4.0. I believe everyone uses it. There's even a very handy app version of it that you can download on your phone and use, that has voice recognition as well. So you can even talk you can have a conversation with the GPT software. You can tell it what you want, and it gives you information in a very conversational manner, which helps when you're creating content for a B2C audience. Image generation is actually very interesting, because this is text to image. So you put in your text and you tell the AI generate an image for me. So it can generate an image of a man walking on the moon against a blue sky, and they will actually generate that for you. Now, of course, I use this, and GPT does it as well. GPT-4, if you can do it. You don't have to go into specialized software like Leonardo or Midjourney, which are the two most common platforms that I used. But the caveat with this is that it's not always accurate, right? So I use it more as a form of examples. So I work with a lot of the graphic design team in these companies, where I have an image of what I think the infographic should look like. But instead of explaining it to somebody, I can just ask GPT to generate a rough sketch of it, of what I think this image should be. And the graphic designer can then refine it and correct it. So it's almost like I'm prototyping my work, and then it's easier for the designer to kind of create the accurate version, or the correct version after that. So that's how, again, you supplement your content with images. Another interesting thing is audio and video. So we have audio, which can be generated even when you're using podcasts. You can use it as voiceover for your videos. And video generation is when you can create an avatar of yourself. Supposing you want to create online videos, but you're very shy and you're not camera friendly. So you can create a digital avatar of yourself, feed the digital avatar script, and they can, completely talk for you, and you can interject it with your point of view as well. So another I think a software that's using this is Pub Explainer videos. Basically, it's published papers that they can then create a video abstract or an image abstract from your huge literature reviews or your case studies. They kind of break it down into more explainable video contracts, or video abstracts, or image abstracts, which is, again, a very easy way of being able to share your studies with a larger group of people. Now it comes to, again, distribution, right? So you've created this big bulk of content. You have your case study written, your blog written, whatever your long form content is that you've double checked and all of that. Now you need to repurpose it, because it's just a more effective way. You've spent all that time. It makes sense to cut it down to different pieces, slice and dice it, and distribute it to various content formats, right? So then there are apps like contentstudio.ai. They will help you do that. They'll give you suggestions on how to break up this long form content into smaller pieces for social media. Buffer, again, helps you schedule your posts so that everything is on automation. So these are distribution automation softwares, right? Now, again, performance analytics. A lot of the companies that you're going to be working with have their own dashboards, and they're going to be looking at how your online content in particular will perform. So everything from your click-through rates to your reading times to follower counts, all of that is going to be tracked if you're working in online mediums, right? So again, there are AI-based dashboards which can make it easier for now for the companies to track how well their content marketing is doing. So we've gone over I think with all of that, we've gone over what medical content creation is. We've looked at some of the tools that you can use to make life easier. But as much as this talk about AI is happening, how much is it really penetrating real world? How many of us, writers, marketers, content creators, how many of us are actually using it? And using it for a long time. It's a different thing to just test it out for curiosity and say, okay, that's it. It's not working for me. I'm going to bounce off. But how many of us are actually creating this content and using AI generated content? So recent surveys again show that 45% of content creators and writers are using AI tools. They use it to write copy, to create images, to create outlines, and it makes their life easier, right? But on the flip side, 96% of them show that 96% of the time, AI content is not complete to publish on its own. So we do require editing of that content. It is not something that you can copy paste from from ChatGPT and put it onto your website. It doesn't work most of the time, right? So 53% make minor changes, 39% make major changes. So it is clear that we can use AI to make life easier, but it is not a cut, copy, paste model by any chance, right? So again, why are there hesitations around AI for medical writing? Why is it important for us to be careful when we're using AI, particularly for healthcare communicators? Why does this pertain more to us than any other industry? So I do want to preface this by saying that healthcare and medicine is what Google also considers to be a YMYL topic. YMYL, your money or your life. It's that important, right? Because the decisions that people make about their health can affect their money and their lives. So these are two very important aspects realistically from a community point of view. So of course, accurate information is sacrosanct, right? And we're very worried that the way that AI is going, it's inaccurate information. We need to double check resources. We need to double check references, all of that, there has to be some human supervision over here. The second is bias. Again, as I said before, your AI tool is going to be trained on the data that it has been given. So it's a very common saying, rubbish in, rubbish out. So if the data set that the AI has been trained on is really not that sound, the data that you're going to get from it or the content that you're going to get from it is not going to be accurate, right? Which brings me to this really interesting story that happened. Again, I read about it this morning, but I believe the incident happened 2 days ago, where Google released its own version of ChatGPT, which is called Google Bard. They released it, I think, about a year ago. People have been using it, but it's not been as popular as ChatGPT. Now, Bard, they released a new version of it and they called it Google Gemini, right? So with Gemini, what you can do is essentially put in your text prompt and it'll create an image for you. So you can, again, say, give me an infographic of the causes of diabetes, and it'll give you an infographic. Or you could say, give me an image of a person who is suffering from renal disease, because you want to add it to your blog about renal disease. You could potentially do that. But as people started using it more and more, and they open it to general public so that they can use it and figure out what's wrong with it, they can catch errors early. But when they released it, they found out that no matter what text they put in, they could not generate the image of a Caucasian man. So even though they put in tools like, they put in words like, show me an image of the British Raj, where essentially you should have a Caucasian man in that scenario. There's no other interpretation for that. The images still came of Indian skin tone or African American skin tones, and you could not create an image of a Caucasian man. You just couldn't, no matter how many permutations and combinations of text you used. So it was a very clear case of where there is a bias towards one particular racial ethnicity or stock of people, right? So the data set that it has been trained on has focused on everywhere else, but this sect. So of course it caused a major controversy in America, where race and is a major factor there anyway. But to an extent where Google has to now retract that tool. So now you have no access to the tool. It is closed down until they make repairs to it. So as of now, you can't access Google Gemini. And this happened just a couple of days ago. So it's a these are developments that are happening all the time, correct? So I think the third is the most important one, where writers and content creators are very hesitant to use AI, is we are very fearful of AI taking our jobs, right? Because we work so hard on our skills. We work so hard on developing this communication tool that we have in ourselves, that we feel like, a software coming in and taking over is probably not a good thing. So a lot of it is fear. There are, while the other two are more, we are dependent on the actual developers to take care of it for us. Fear is something we can take care of on our own. So I think the idea is to learn how to leverage the AI so that you're better at what you do, that you create more of an impact with the people that you're creating content for your clients. You are able to give them fast content but accurate content. So learn how to use it. Instead of being always fearful of it and saying this is not something I want to touch, because whether we like it or not, it's here. So we have two choices. We can either overcome it and use it, or we can be fearful of it and kind of be left behind. So another really interesting thing that we came across, as far as AI uses in medicine, when ChatGPT first came out and it was its 3.5 version, they made ChatGPT sit through the USMLE exams, which is the US medical licensing examination. Basically, this is the exam you need to pass for you to practice as a doctor in the US. And they have various stages. And when ChatGPT went and sat for this exam, it passed. Right? So the examination software could not make out that it was an AI actually sitting for this exam. Similarly, Google introduced MedPalm 2. It's a software, again, that was meant to answer medical questions from different patient groups, more than 80% accuracy on this. So we know that it's getting smarter, especially when it relates to medicine. Which brings us to the question, just because we can use AI for medical communication, should we be doing this? Is it medically correct for us to be doing this? So here I would say you kind of need to make your own judgment call on this, but I can, based on my experience, just some precautions that you can take specifically for medical content, right? Simply because, like I said, it is a YMYL topic. So review and oversight. Your content should be reviewed and approved by qualified medical professionals. If you have the qualifications to do so, do so. If you don't, outsource it to somebody, ask somebody to look over it with you. Review is very important. Ensure that your sources are updated. Again, we know that the bias exists. So if you have the way to research where your data set has come from, or best provide it with your own data set, provide it with your own research studies and say, okay, I have shortlisted a list of research publications that I feel are good data set for you. Now, AI, please summarize this for me, or please, using this data set, give me a paper or give me an outline for this. That makes more sense, as opposed to giving the research question to the AI and telling him, now do everything. I think that's a great way to make sure that your sources are in line and verified. Another thing is protect privacy. If you are using it to create case reports and case studies, please make sure that your patient data is completely eliminated from any sort of reports that you may have to upload, sometimes scans, any identifying features for your patient should not be uploaded, because that is a gross violation of the patient privacy. So be very sure that you are not using that at all. And also another thing is plagiarism. So make sure that if you are using research papers or blogs or something, or any sorts of source material from another writer or another publisher, please make sure that it has been paraphrased to a point where plagiarism doesn't come into question, right? And the fourth thing I would say is to remain transparent, right? With this is because there's a very high chance that when you're submitting your content to the company or the agency or whoever has hired you to do this work, they're running two scans. They're running a plagiarism scan, which I feel is more important than an AI scan. But they're also running your content through an AI detector. An AI detector software, it can be either zero GPT or GPT zero. There are now too many out there to name, but they're probably running them through that. Now, there are certain people who accept that AI is part of life. And so they very realistically say, okay, you can use AI to generate your content, but it should be between 30 and 40%. Just like with plagiarism, they say, okay, it can be within 8% or 10% or whatever. But some people say 30 to 40%, and they have a benchmark for that the company has set, and they say nothing beyond this. So when you are doing that, it's better to be transparent and say, I have run this content through the checker myself. 30% of it is attributed to AI. This has been attributed to human experts, just like you would reference a quote, and the rest has been human generated. It kind of makes you transparent from day one, and you're probably going to have more chances of your content being approved at that end, if you are. So yeah. So let's get practical. What are the best ways to integrate AI into your medical writing now? Okay. First is fact check, right? So always fact check the information, cite your sources, keep a balance between AI and human skills, understand where you can avoid it. Like if you are putting forward your point of view, if you're putting forward something in creativity, if you're putting forward a subject that could be controversial, better not to use that, because that is your point of view. That should be from a human angle. Also, don't get bogged down with the tools. Select the right tools. Which ones do you really need? What tools can be can be used for multiple actions. So don't get bogged down with too many tools. Choose a couple in your arsenal which you feel works well for your process, and choose that only. Don't get carried away because it's going to be a new tool all the time, right? So how are you talking to the AI? A large amount of success that you get in your output depends on your input. So when you're talking to your AI, whether it's ChatGPT or any other tool where you're asking it to do a task for you, break it up into very simple, small tasks. In my experience, they've never been good at, if you say, make a blog for me or write a blog for me on this topic, the output has never been good. They'll do it, but the output has never been good. So if you can ask it to generate an outline, that's one task. Then pick up one paragraph and say, okay, now work on this paragraph for me, work on these points for me. Break it down into smaller, more palatable points, and you'll probably get a better and more detailed answer from them. Keep it conversational with them. Talk to it and don't talk in a very stilted, formal tone. Keep it as more of a conversation between you and the AI. It just generates better content at that point, especially when you're working for B2C audiences, because the AI will then assume that you are at a layperson level. So they won't go very technical with you. So you don't have to go very technical with your audience, right? And if the response of that what you get from your AI is not as good as you would like, give it feedback. There's always room for feedback. Say, highlight that particular section, copy paste it into the conversation bar and say, I did not like this aspect of what you gave. Can you give a better version of it? And you're going to improve on your content that way. Editing this is again, we know that we're editing it, but what are the major things that you should look out for? Tone. Tone is a big thing because there are a lot of phrases in AI generated content that we can spot as editors. Now, when I'm on the other side and I'm editing a piece of content that has been submitted to me by a writer, I am always looking for these particular phrases. In the realm of the healthcare industry, sure sign is ChatGPT generated. Healthcare communications is not just a way of communications, but is a beacon of light for all of that. That kind of flowery language is 100% AI generated. So the AI is kind of uh, very evident when we're looking at it from an editor's point of view that this tone is AI generated. We don't even need the AI checker anymore. It's become, if you read enough content, you know that this is what it is, right? So work on your introduction and your conclusion. That should be your personality, should come through there. Cultural references, expressions, examples, data points, studies that you can quote can really help over here. Quotes are a big thing, because if you get subject matter experts to weigh in on the different topics, then it's a direct quote from a human being, which again completely uplifts your content. Examples, real world experiences. You can put in different content mediums. You can put in a YouTube video. You can put in an Instagram post. You can put in a screenshot. Um, any of these to basically add masala to your content is better, right? And give your point of view. State very clearly in that thing. It's either your point of view or the subject matter expertise point of view, but it's a point of view that is unique to a human being, right? At the end of the day, AI is just one tool in your arsenal. It's not a magic wand. You still need your processes, your systems, and your strategies. And content still needs to be based on your experience and your point of view. And that's what's going to make your writing different from your competition. So on a really light note, is basically if you've worked with clients at any point of time, you know that they're very indecisive. So to replace writers with AI, clients need to accurately describe what they want. So for right now, we're safe. So if content writers are more, or in any field, are open to AI generated tools, you can know that you can supplement your process with AI, but you can't replace it. They can make your work easier and faster, but they are not going to replace your expertise and your knowledge in this. Okay, with that, I open the floor to questions if you have any.
Right, perfect. I mean, excellent, Dr. Lakshmi. This was like a complete overview of everything that happens in AI and how medical content writing journey can be used with the help of AI tools. And you covered almost everything, right from the research to writing to summarization to referencing to plagiarism check, and also distribution through social media platforms and others. I think it's sort of the holistic session to cover everything. So thank you so much for that. Now the floor is open for Q&A. So any participants, any one of you, if you want to ask any questions, please raise your virtual hand and then we'll unmute you. You can ask the question directly to Dr. Lakshmi. And the replay of this session will be immediately available, so don't worry. If for some of you it was too technical, don't worry about that. The replay will be available, so you can watch it number of times. And Dr. Lakshmi's LinkedIn profile link will be also shared with all of you so that you can connect with her later on. Learn a couple of things from her, because as she rightly said, the AI is evolving and there is always a room for improvement. And what works for me or Dr. Lakshmi may not work for you. So we need to, see a tool that works for each one of us and we can use it for our writing process. All right. So any questions? Let me just see in the chat box. Do we have any questions? Did you like the session? Please give a one word to Dr. Lakshmi. How was the session? One word. Informative. All right. What about others? Dr. Lakshmi, you may please stop sharing the screen. We'll go for a
Yeah,
Q&A for a few minutes.
sure.
And thank you so much. Yes, so please ask questions. If you want to ask live, you can raise your virtual hand on Zoom and we'll unmute you. You can ask the question directly. Please ask questions, because when we ask, we get answers. If we don't ask, the answer is always no, right? There is no response to that. All right, so any questions, please ask. Informative, nice. Only 2 responses I got so far. Hopefully others also got some value from this session.
Can you suggest, Dr. Pallavi, can you suggest a breakthrough into medical writing in a remote role? Okay. So I believe that the way that we the way that we break through in medical writing in the way that, because there's just too much competition right now. Um, and honestly, I get a DM from at least one young MBBS doctor, or every day on LinkedIn saying, "How do I break into this field?" And it's even tougher if we're more established doctors, because the switch is it's a mindset switch. But I believe that certifications are, of course, it's an advantage. If you have a medical background, of course, you have an advantage over another content creator or another medical writer who doesn't have that background. But I believe nothing ever replaces the strength of a good portfolio. If you have never written content, um, you will never be able to showcase your prospective client what you're able to do. So it really depends. If you in a remote role, where is that remote role? Do you want to work for a pharma company but in a remote role? Do you want to work for a marketing agency but a remote role? Do you want to be a consultant that goes like that you can consult for everyone, which is kind of what I do now, but so my clients are very different. So if you see my portfolio, I've made sure that I've worked for a pharmaceutical company, so I have a research paper that proves that I know how to do literature reviews. If I work for a marketing agency, I make sure that I have a whole social media campaign in my portfolio. Even though I did it for a friend of mine, I did it for free. That was my first portfolio piece that I showed them. I said, I can actually make content for you. This is what I can do. And they're more than willing to trust me in a remote role. The best way is, I would say, first thing, create a portfolio if you don't have one, catering to the company that you actually want to work for remotely. Build your LinkedIn profile, put up, write over there so that they know that you can write. And three, cold email. Get a list of HR managers, content managers, marketing managers, or in CROs, people who are actually decision makers. Get a list of their emails, try and get as many as you can through networking, and cold email them with your portfolio saying, this is what I do, this is what I can do. And if there's a position available where we can collaborate in a remote role, please get in touch.
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
those,
Yeah,
those are,
absolutely.
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, someone has their hand up, Mr. Gokul.
Yeah, Gokul. So I'll unmute him. So preference is always given to those who want to ask live.
Yeah.
Gokul, go for it, Gokul.
Uh, yeah, hello, ma'am. Is it audible?
Yes, loud and
Yes.
clear.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm really sorry that I was late, a little bit late. I missed the first initial 15 minutes. So sorry for that. Anyway, your presentation was really great, especially your presentation was really good, because most of the time when you're presenting, we are told to avoid bullet points rather and make it much more informative. So I really like the way you have prepared your slide. It just shows how much effort you have taken. It was really informative, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like I wanted to ask you one specific thing. Like, if I'm starting out with a blog, any medical related content, how do I get experts to verify my content? Is it really essential? Like, if I am searching for established blogs, medical blogs, usually it's given that it is reviewed by a doctor or someone who is an expert. So is it really important to get your content verified by them, or how do we approach them? And that's the most important thing.
I'll give my answer into bits, okay?
Yeah, sure.
First is, if you are creating a blog, okay, and it is a fairly well-researched topic, people have already written to bits about it, but your client has asked you because they need to build their online uh, presence, right? So supposing it's a company that's talking about PCOS, every gynec has a blog on PCOS, right? So it is a very well-researched topic. Everyone's already written about it. You're going to find millions of very expert authenticated topics content out there. So if you're taking from that, say from a Healthline, a Medline, a PubMed, you're taking from every very established blogs anyway, then it's fine. Then obviously you are linking to those blogs. Those are your references. So you've created your blog based on that. Also, I want to preface that this is medical writing is not creative writing, right? You don't always have to have a point of view. You're simply summarizing a complex topic for your audience, Correct. So we are not once you've used that information from credible sources, then no. As long as you've referenced to them, you don't need somebody to come in and review what you've written because you've used that as referencing. But if you are supposing writing about, say, a very niche topic, like something that's just come out, say you have you have a surgeon who really wants to write a blog about this really new surgery that he's learned about in Italy and come here and now wants to write a blog for his doctors, then yeah, that kind of information you should have an expert weighing in and kind of looking at it. So I know they're extreme examples, but I think to say it very succinctly, if you have enough references from already very expert people, then feel free to quote it and feel free to use it, just give it as reference. But if it's a niche topic and you're not able to find references on it, please check the website you're referring to. And another thing that happens with this is, when you're using it for supplements that use a lot of herbal ingredients, sometimes it's not very well researched. So be very careful with that. See if you can get somebody to authenticate that, because sometimes, some herbal compounds are not very well researched and they're included in a lot of supplements as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. Thank you very much for that. And thank you, Manusa, for giving us such a platform to actually to connect with ma'am or connect with other specialized people. Thank you very much, sir.
It's
Thank you very
always
much.
a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, Gokul. Thank you so much for being here and asking that question. And thank you so much, Dr. Lakshmi, for answering that. Maybe I'll add one more point here. So let's say you want to write on a topic which you're not expert in. Talk to an expert. Okay. One of the easiest ways to talk to the doctors around you, talk to the patients around you. They're experts in their own ways, right? So talking to patients will help you to write more of B2B contents better. Talking to a doctor friend of yours will help you to write a B2C or B2B content in a better way, because doctors' perspectives are always valued in the industry. And that is where the key opinion leaders come into picture, right? So doctors are always treated as key opinion leaders in their expertise and domain. Take some case studies from these doctors who will love to publish them. Definitely they want to do it, but they don't have time. So talk to them, take a case study, write a narrative study, publish it in a journal, and make him as the first author. Maybe you can be the second author, or maybe you can be the corresponding author. This way you get a write-up for yourself and also for the doctor friend of yours. And you get an expert opinion as well, right? This way you could publish blogs, video articles. Nowadays, video articles are also getting popular. So video blogs or maybe audio blogs, podcasts, maybe, video like this, for example, that we are discussing, a LinkedIn article. I mean, virtually everywhere you can publish an Instagram post, maybe a Facebook post, I mean, everywhere, right? So maybe Dr. Lakshmi could add some perspectives on the
But
digital side of
actually
it.
matches exactly what you said is what I would prefer for some Dr. Pallavi, who's asked what kind of portfolio to build for medcoms in a remote role. This is the kind of portfolio that I mean. Really in medcoms, specifically when you are pitching to pharma marketing or medical marketing organizations or in those departments, you need to show variety in formats. So
Absolutely.
and the best way to do that is to write in a topic that you find interesting, and something that is in currently what people are talking about. For example, even now we have the HPV vaccine that's current in our country right now. Write a LinkedIn article on it, publish it on LinkedIn. That's your ready-made article for you.
Yeah.
You have a gynec in your circle, ask them, can I quote you on this? Can I interview you on this? I'll link to your Instagram or your LinkedIn or whatever your website. And, we can collaborate on an article together. That becomes a second piece in your portfolio. Your third is, if you have an Instagram account, convert that entire blog or article, convert it into a carousel post, write a caption for it. That becomes the third piece in your portfolio. Right. And the same thing, if you're friendly, if you're good in front of a camera, record a 15-second video of you talking about this topic and show that I've written the script. This is my communication script, and becomes the next piece in your portfolio. So with one piece of content, you have managed to show that you are diverse enough to work across mediums. And that becomes the most important portfolio for a medical communications agency who is going to reach out to you and say, okay, then this writer can work across fields. I hope that answers your question, Dr.
Yeah,
Bhatt.
absolutely. That was a bang on. And one more important point here is, as you rightly said, Dr. Lakshmi, majority of us, we, go with this, problem of FOMO, right? And we try to focus on somebody else's content and try to copy that style and, convert that into our style of writing, which is not right. So each one of us here has a different, unique style of writing. So follow your writing style and then showcase your expertise and experience. Now, what do you mean by experience and expertise? Your experience so far. So if you're a fresher, for example, you might have graduated, you might have done BDS, MDS, or MBBS, or any other degree, right? Or pharmacy, for example, PharmD or MPharm. So whatever is your degree, you have got some expertise through that degree, right? And then whatever is your interest area. Now, being from healthcare background, we must have a therapy interest area. So definitely we might be inclined towards one kind of therapy area. Maybe it is oncology or gastrology or maybe something else, right? So whatever is that inclination, showcase that inclination through your experience and expertise, through your qualification. When you are able to do it, then I think you'll be able to write a better blog, better content, and diversify that as a portfolio content. And today, you don't have to worry about the platforms because there are hundreds of platforms out there. LinkedIn is one of the best platforms to reach out, B2B, B2C, both. Facebook, Instagram, you have Medium, platforms like Medium, which are giving options to write blogs for free. And if you're, if you want to spend little money, you can have your own blogs, right? And then obviously, then you can have your own portfolio in your own domain. That will be much, much better. So I hope we answered all of that, and thank you
Yeah.
so much for that.
I
All
think
right. Any other questions anybody wants to ask? Let's give a preference to those who want to ask, because we have been talking for quite some time and we want you also to interact and talk, give us some time. And we want to hear from you. That is very important, right? We speaking and then you are just listening doesn't make sense. So please raise your hand, or maybe we'll unmute you and then you can talk. Otherwise, we'll take the questions from the chat box. So Dr. Palvi, hope you answered it. Felix, there is a question. I am a PharmD graduate now. What should I do for getting job in medical content writing? So PharmD, maybe I'll give some insights first, and then we'll take Dr. Lakshmi's help as well. So PharmD, you are already into clinical side of it. PharmD is a 6 years course which focuses on the clinical side of healthcare. So you already know the clinical side, you already know the pharmaceutical side. So try to write some articles during your, ward rounds, during your patient visits, during your interactions with doctors. And with these small articles, you can, maybe even write an article for publication. Maybe you can write an article for LinkedIn or Facebook or all these different places, and compile all of these articles in one place, create the links together, and create a portfolio for yourself. That's the first step. The second step is to showcase your, online presence. Now, there are many, medical writers who say, I can write great content. But when you go and see on their LinkedIn profile, they've never posted for the last 4 months. They've never been active. So, your profile does not even say that you are a writer. You have written some piece of content. There is no links. There is no portfolio attached. So how would a person believe that you have written some content? Right? So you need to prove your worth and expertise both by posting more and more content. And of course, as Dr. Lakshmi said, there are, some courses that you can do. And in one of the videos, we have talked about a lot of courses. So if you've not seen that, please do watch that video. We have talked about a lot of free courses where you can, join and you can just learn for free. Okay. All
I'll
right.
add one more point
Yes,
to
please, please.
if you're thinking that, from what I've seen, right, a lot of the certifications that I've done are free. I do LinkedIn Learning a lot. HubSpot and SEMrush are both free certifications.
Yeah.
Google Digital Garage is also a free certification. It's a long certification, but it is a free one. So it's not like you need to get a degree in medical writing for you to be eligible for a job. That is not the type of field this is. This is very much a skill-based field. It is not a qualification-based field at all.
Absolutely.
So hence the stress on the portfolio, because they really don't care about how many letters you have after your name. My MD degree or my DPB degree, it had made no difference in that conference room at all. It gave me an edge as far as my skills are concerned, not as far as me pitching against another content writer who has no medical background but can write better than me and research better than me. So
Absolutely.
it is definitely, skill versus skill. And the only way that I can suggest you is to do these certifications, not with the hope of landing the job, but with the hope of getting your portfolio good enough to beat the other portfolios.
Yeah.
That's where I believe the crux is in the matter. There's another which kind of links to this. Can you suggest some agencies who I can approach as a beginner with a few months of writing experience? I hope you can showcase those few months of writing experience. I hope you've built a portfolio, because even if you have all the email addresses in the world, if you don't have a portfolio to send them, a one-line email is not going to cut it. It's going to go to junk almost immediately. So you can do it side by side. I did it I'm very analog in that way. I'm quite old-fashioned. I'm going to be hitting 40 next year. So I'm still very much a millennial. I still do things very much the long way. I've simply made an Excel sheet. I went online and I looked at healthcare marketing agencies near me. And I went to their contact us page, looked at their HR, see if I could find somebody in their HR department or somebody in the medical marketing department, got their email address from their LinkedIn profile if they had it, or reached out to them on LinkedIn. And I said, after I built my portfolio, please, I'm prefixing everything with portfolio here. And then cold email them and said, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is my portfolio. If you have any projects, please keep me in consideration. I'm happy to sit down for an interview. I've even offered a free project with them, like a free article as a test article. When I started off, I worked for free for I think a good 3 or 4 months until they were comfortable enough with me to pay me. So I wrote articles on Fiverr for $5 or $10 each. So that's how you get. That's how I started. I understand that it's a long way, but I kind of, without a mentor at that point, this is how the best way I thought to do it. So I hope that answers
Yeah,
some.
absolutely. And I think, without a mentor, and even though you said you did it in an old-fashioned way, I think that still works better than anything else, right? There are people who just say good morning on LinkedIn, and then, after 5 days, they say good afternoon on LinkedIn, and then never come back, right? So, and then when you go to their profile and then say they have written something on your message saying that I want to become a medical writer, and then you go to their profile, there is no picture, there is no content, then they've not updated their degree. So first thing, before you update your portfolio, first you go and update your LinkedIn profile. That is like a more like a LinkedIn resume for you. It's like a personal website now. And once you have done that, then create a portfolio for yourself. Then start reaching out to people or clients. That is important. And Google is your best friend. I mean, you have everything on Google today. So just go and search for clients near you. Now there are people who might send resume to Bangalore, but they're not interested to come back to Bangalore or relocate to Bangalore. So never do that. If you are reaching out to clients near you, it is always good, because the clients also want to meet with you, and then maybe give you a project. Especially if you're working for pharmaceutical marketing companies, they want you to come to their office, interact with you, and then maybe show you their products and what they do and how they do, and then want you to engage in writing, right? So it is always good to connect with those clients nearby, and the nearby feature definitely helps you there. And then build your portfolio. And then if you want more help, please watch out those 30-40 plus hours of content on medical writing that we have done, and that definitely give you a lot of ideas. A lot of experts like Dr. Lakshmi have spoken on these topics, and medical marketing specifically. If you're interested, go and watch those videos. All right, thank you so much, Sakshi, for asking, and Dr. Lakshmi for answering that. All right, any more questions, guys? Please do ask. We have overshot the time, and I hope Dr. Lakshmi won't mind staying for a few minutes to
Not
answer some more questions. And please feel free to reach out to Dr. Lakshmi
Yes,
and
thank you.
connect with her on LinkedIn. Don't just say good morning, good afternoon, and drop a message to her. Please complete the
Please
message
do.
whatever you want, and then yeah.
Please do. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. You should be able to get this is my spelling on LinkedIn, but please reach out. I'm more than happy to discuss
Absolutely.
as well. Yeah.
All of us are ready to help you out, and this you'll find the replay of this video here, and Dr. Lakshmi's LinkedIn profile is also updated on the same link, so you'll find it here. And do connect, do watch that replay, and stay connected, keep learning. We'll be doing these sessions more often, and this is just to create an awareness and pass on whatever little we have learned in our experience with corporates and different companies. And thank you so much. So, Dr. Lakshmi, thank you so much for your time. And I want to thank each one of you for being here with us and in this learning journey. I've been doing this for more than 3.5 years now, and I see participants attending these sessions every time I do it. So it gives me more energy to do these sessions more often. And if you know somebody who is an expert who wants to share the experience, please do share the contact details. I'd love to connect with them. And we'll share that case study that Dr. Lakshmi was speaking about.
Yeah.
So the link of the case study will also be updated on the YouTube link itself. So please watch it later there. Dr. Lakshmi's LinkedIn profile is already updated there on the YouTube link. So if you find Dr. Lakshmi's LinkedIn profile link, my LinkedIn profile link, if you want to connect, you can connect with me and Dr. Lakshmi and continue the conversation from there. All right. So perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Dr. Pallavi. Thank you, Ratnam. Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Dr. Lakshmi will meet again. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good evening.
And thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So I'll stop the live session. Thank you so much.